It was a beautiful day in the town of Cana. The sun lit up the rolling hills of Galilee, and the streets buzzed with excitement. A wedding was happening, and in this part of the world, weddings were more than just a ceremony. They were a celebration, a week-long feast full of music, dancing, and joy. The bride and groom were beaming. Guests gathered under colorful canopies, dressed in flowing robes and head coverings. Tables were piled high with food. Laughter filled the air. The scent of spiced wine and baked bread floated in the breeze. And among the guests was Mary, the mother of Jesus, and Jesus himself with his disciples, young men still learning who he truly was. The celebration was in full swing. Music played, feet danced. Everything was perfect. Until it wasn't. Somewhere in the kitchen, a servant leaned over an empty clay jar. The wine had run out. In our world today, that might mean a quick trip to the store, but in first-century Galilee, it was a disaster. Wine wasn't just a drink. It was a symbol of blessing, of joy, of honor. To run out of wine at a wedding wasn't just awkward. It was a shameful failure for the host, a dark cloud over a joyful day. Mary heard the whispers. She saw the worried faces. And she turned to Jesus, not as a desperate guest, but as a mother who knew her son held a power the world had yet to see. "They have no more wine," she said quietly. Jesus looked at her, kind but cautious. "Dear woman," he replied, "why do you involve me? My hour has not yet come." But Mary simply turned to the servants and said, "Do whatever he tells you." It was a moment of trust, a quiet nudge. She believed, even if no one else yet did. Nearby stood 6 large stone jars, tall, heavy, carved smooth. Each held water used for ceremonial washing, 20 to 30 gallons each. Jesus looked at the servants. "Fill the jars with water," he said. And they did. Bucket after bucket. The water sloshed and splashed as they filled the jars to the very brim. Still unsure, still questioning. Then Jesus said, "Now, draw some out. Take it to the master of the banquet." The servant hesitated. It was just water. What good would this do? But he obeyed. And as he dipped the cup and walked it to the banquet master, something miraculous happened. The master of the banquet lifted the cup and took a sip, and his eyes widened. This wasn't water, and it wasn't just any wine. It was rich, bold, fragrant, the finest wine he had ever tasted. He turned to the groom, laughing in amazement. Everyone brings out the best wine first, and then the cheaper wine after the guests have had too much. But you have saved the best for last. The music rose, the celebration continued. But something incredible had happened behind the scenes. Jesus had performed his first public miracle. There was no thunder, no lightning, no announcement, just quiet obedience, a simple act of grace. And yet, in that moment, something changed. His disciples looked at him, not just as a teacher, but as something more. They began to believe, not just in his words, but in who he was. That day in Cana, Jesus turned water into wine. He took something ordinary and made it extraordinary. He took emptiness and filled it with abundance. It was more than saving a wedding. It was a sign, a promise that with Jesus, joy is restored, that when things run dry, when hope runs out, he is able to bring new life. Because in the hands of Jesus, the best is never behind us. The best is yet to come.